I didn't plan to come back early. Work trips usually dragged longer than anyone expected, but that night I felt the urge to drive straight through. No warning call, no text, just a father wanting to surprise his family during the holidays. The snow was falling in thick sheets. My breath clouded the windshield, the heater humming low. I remember gripping the wheel tighter the closer I got, anticipation warming me more than the car ever could. But what I saw outside her mother's house froze everything inside me. My boy, 8 years old, no jacket, no gloves, was sitting on the curb in the biting wind, his knees drawn to his chest, his lips trembling blue. A t-shirt, shorts, 5 degrees Fahrenheit. He didn't even notice me at first. He was too numb. The moment I pulled over, he lifted his head. His eyes lit up in a way that nearly broke me. He stumbled into my arms, teeth chattering, whispering my name as though he wasn't sure I was real. I wrapped him in my coat, and then I looked at the house. Through the wide kitchen window, the entire family was gathered around a glowing table. Steam from the turkey filled the air. Glasses clinked. Laughter floated out when the door cracked open briefly to let in another guest. Inside was warmth, celebration, belonging. Outside was my son, discarded like trash. That was the moment something in me snapped. It wasn't always like this. I married into that family with hope, not caution. My wife, Leela, was radiant then. She looked at me the way people look at things they're certain will never break. Her mother adored me at first. So did her brothers. We shared meals, vacations, birthdays. They called me one of their own. But over time, the affection soured. Subtle digs became sharper. I was never enough, never earning enough, never dressing right, never parenting their way. Leela shifted with them, pulled by their tide, until I was the outsider sitting in my own marriage. I ignored the whispers, the sudden phone call she took in another room, the nights she claimed she was helping her mother but didn't come home until morning. I told myself families are messy, marriages go through storms. I buried suspicion under loyalty until it became a grave. Tonight I stood over that grave. I carried my boy to the car, turned the heat up full blast, and locked the doors. "Stay here," I told him softly. "I'll be right back." My boots crunched over ice as I walked to the porch. My hand hovered over the knob, but I didn't knock. I didn't ask permission. I kicked it open. The door banged against the wall with a crack that silenced every voice inside. Forks froze mid-air, heads turned, and then I spoke the 6 words that drained the color from their faces. "Why is my son outside alone?" The words didn't rise in anger. They dropped, cold, deliberate, heavier than gunfire. Leela's fork slipped from her hand, clattering against the plate. Her mother's lips parted, but no sound came. Her brothers shifted, eyes darting, waiting for someone else to answer. No one did. I didn't scream. I didn't need to. Their silence said everything. I walked to the table, slow and steady, my footsteps echoing in their cathedral of guilt. My son's plate was missing from the spread. No extra chair at the table. It wasn't forgetfulness, it was exile. I had suspected cruelty. I hadn't imagined they would leave a child to freeze. My child. "Do you know how long he's been out there?" I asked. My voice was steady, but my hands wanted to break every glass in reach. "Do you know what 5 degrees feels like on skin that soft?" Leela finally stood, stammering, "It's not what it looks like." "Sit down," I cut in. She obeyed. I took the carving knife from the center of the table, ran my thumb along the blade, and let the silence strangle them. I wasn't there for blood, but I wanted them to wonder. I had prepared for this day in ways they couldn't see. Months before, I had quietly documented everything: the the missed school pickups, the unexplained absences, the bruises they dismissed as playground accidents. I had records, witnesses, photographs. I knew one day the mask would drop, and I would need proof. So I built my case while they laughed behind closed doors. Earlier that week, while away on business, I'd already filed paperwork. Custody, separation, financial accounts frozen under my signature alone. The lawyer was ready. All that was left was the performance. And here it was. I leaned close to Leela, the knife between us gleaming under the chandelier. "I want you to remember this dinner," I whispered. "The night you chose your family's comfort over your son's life." Her eyes watered. Her mother opened her mouth to defend her, but I raised a hand. "Don't." My tone cut sharper than the blade. "You've already said enough with your actions." I placed the knife back on the table, clean, untouched, but heavy with intent. Then I pulled a thick envelope from my coat pocket and dropped it in front of them. Inside, the custody papers, the evidence, the undeniable truth. "Consider this my gift," I said. "Merry Christmas." I turned and left them sitting there, pale and trembling, their feast untouched, the air poisoned by their own guilt. Outside, my boy was waiting, bundled in my coat, eyes wide with questions he didn't need to ask. I lifted him gently into the passenger seat, buckled him in, and drove. Behind me, the house shrank into the snowy distance. A prison I'd escaped, a grave I refused to bury my son in. They thought betrayal would break me. They thought silence would protect them. But I had learned to weaponize patience, to turn their cruelty into the rope they tied around their own necks. Now the law was mine, custody was mine, freedom was mine. And my son would never again shiver outside their warmth, begging for scraps of belonging. He had me, and that was enough. I don't regret what I did. I don't regret the silence I kept, the mask I wore, or the knife I never had to use. Revenge isn't always about fire and blood. Sometimes it's about taking everything they tried to steal and walking away with it intact. They lost a daughter, a grandson, their control. I lost nothing but illusions. And when I looked at my son asleep in the seat beside me, wrapped in safety, I knew the truth. Justice doesn't shout, it whispers, and it always arrives colder than the snow.